Now, if you don't live in Kibera, Korogosho, Mathare, or the streets of Nairobi, chances are that you may not have heard of Jamii Bora Bank. Nevertheless, as banks and microfinance institutions go, there is absolutely no doubt that Jamii Bora Bank is not just a unique bank, but one that is surely in a class of its own. Why do we say so? Because this is one bank that started from a place where no other bank, as far as we could establish, has gone. Jamii Bora Bank was born in 1999 when a group of 50 street beggar families, yes, beggars, were brought together by a retired UN Habitat worker. Her name is Ingrid Munro. The Swedish-born Ingrid came to Kenya in the early 1980s to work for UN Habitat and head the African Housing Fund, an advocacy group for the homeless. Now, in 1988, she and her Canadian husband adopted a 7-year-old boy from the streets of Nairobi. The boy led them to adopt his 2 brothers. And this was the beginning of a life-changing relationship with street families. Ingrid's interactions with street families, courtesy of the background of her adopted sons, got her wondering how she could help them change their lives and move out of the vicious circle, the cycle of poverty. Now, it was at this point that her adopted son helped her identify amenable street families with whom she could start a self-help group. So, in the poverty-stricken slums and streets of Nairobi, a non-profit trust by the name Jamii Bora, Swahili for good family, and a most appropriate name, I must say, was born. Ingrid worked hard to mobilize funds and encourage street families to make savings through Jamii Bora Trust and get loans to undertake various businesses in the informal sector. Within a few years, Jamii Bora had positively transformed the lives of many street families from lives of begging, stealing, and prostitution to being independent and respectable members of society. During a presentation she made at the Global Microcredit Summit in Halifax, Canada, in 2006, Ingrid gave several examples of people whose lives had changed from poverty to self-sufficiency through Jamii Bora. She received a standing ovation when she narrated how one Wilson Minor, at one time a most wanted criminal in Mathare Valley, joined Jamii Bora in February 2000. He left the life of crime, and by 2006 he had 4 thriving businesses. Now, what a lesson that is. Wilson Minor, according to Ingrid, was pleasantly surprised that when he changed his life, good people could trust and do business with him. Ingrid explained how Wilson Minor became the brand ambassador for Jamii Bora in Mathare Valley, convincing hundreds of his former colleagues in crime to get into business, clean business, and become law-abiding citizens. Over the years, and without making much noise about it, Jamii Bora has transformed the lives of thousands of Kenyans from poverty and hopelessness to relative wealth and confidence. Among the unique loan products you will find at Jamii Bora includes Levuka, a loan product targeted at alcoholics, walevi we call them, who want to kick out alcohol dependency and get into business. Levuka it is called. Now, I don't know of any other bank that has a product like that. Now, today Jamii Bora has over 300,000 customers, about 200 outreach centers across the country. Recently, the group bought 293 acres of land in Kisaju, that's in Kitengela, and it plans to put up a housing estate for purchase by Jamii Bora customers. Over the years, Jamii Bora Trust now has undergone significant transformation and restructuring to become Jamii Bora Bank that it is today, although the Jamii Bora Trust still does exist. And even with the changes, it still retains the spirit that no one is too poor to become a customer of Jamii Bora. So, what is the ownership structure of this unique bank that was started by the soft-spoken social entrepreneur Ingrid Munro, a woman I have met, very humble, whose name should certainly be in the ranks of Muhammad Yunus, the Bangladeshi Nobel Prize-winning microcredit banker? Well, let's take a look at the shareholding structure of Jamii Bora Bank as it stands right now, and whose asset base is estimated to be 6 billion Kenya shillings right now. Let's take a look. We have Jamii Bora Scandinavian Group holding 25% of the bank. Also on that list, we have Asterix Holdings. Now, Asterix Holdings is a group of local investors holding 25% of the bank as well. Also, as I mentioned, Jamii Bora Trust also exists as a separate entity. It now holds 12% of Jamii Bora Bank. Former City Finance Bank investors came together and they hold 11% of Jamii Bora Bank. And Baraka Africa Fund has 8%. The Nordic, it's coming up, the Nordic Micro Group holds 5% of Jamii Bora Bank. And finally, a group of minority shareholders hold a 14% stake in the bank, which, as I mentioned, is estimated to be worth 6 billion Kenya shillings. Our quote of the week aptly comes from Ingrid Munro herself. Let's take a look at what she says. She said, "The 7-year-old adopted us. Then we found his 2 brothers and adopted them. And Jamii Bora was born." A good family was born. Very, very inspirational.